And welcome to the Ghost Show.
Dynamite.
There you go. 10 grand in CGI right there.
It's uncanny. It's almost like they're alive.
They say the same thing about me. I appreciate that. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Professor Christopher McLaughlin. Among many of my life's great honors and delights, I am the creative pit boss of Ghost Show Press, a small but mighty voice defending creators and creators' rights and trying to be a literary champion of obscure cinema. And I am here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because of wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people like you that very, very generously so far have made 1, 2, and now 3 of these books happen in our Everyone's Gone to the Movies series. And since number 3 successfully funded, that's great in and of itself, but it allows me a chance to talk to some of our super backers that went above and beyond in making this thing happen. So when you lovely people get volume 3 and you go, Professor told me, right, this is an awesome book, you can thank people like our first guest tonight because it was his generous support that made it happen. So please join me in welcoming super backer Tom Padgett. Tom, welcome to the Ghost Show.
Thank you. I like being super something. Super backer is a great one. And every time I go backwards, I go beep beep.
Well, in addition to being a very, very, very generous human being, you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be talking about tonight.
I am a civil rights attorney in Houston, Texas, and we're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies of all time, Howard the Duck. I initially was introduced to Howard in the comic book, which came out 50 years ago. Talk about dating ourselves, right? And I bought my first edition, or the first issue, and was hooked. And Howard has held a very feathered place in my heart. I don't want to talk foul, but he just, like Leah Thompson says, he put an arrow through my heart,
So. Well, those of us who brought Howard the Duck off the newsstand, Grandpa may need a nap here in a minute for that. But while I am reeling in the years, to borrow another phrase, Tim, you want to introduce yourself and tell us awesome things about yourself?
Thank you. And you threw me off with the awesome part. I'm Tim Thompson. I'm a filmmaker and theater designer in Houston, Texas. I know Tom because of his support of a theater company that we both love, The Catastrophic. And that's how we met. And I want to point out, and this will be a good marker point for you both, Prof and Tom, you are both, other than David Rains, the only people I have ever seen wear a milk and cheese shirt in the wild.
Hey, man, Jen makes a man mad. Yes, and my girlfriend and we have matching bowling milk and cheese shirts that we break out all the time.
Oh, wow.
Because every frame's a beer frame. Never forget.
So Tom and I have been kicking around theater for a long time and movies, and I'm very glad that he asked me to join on in and talking about Howard.
All righty. Yes, and we are incredibly blessed to have Tim aboard for Fantastic Flops, where he, not to pull us in another cinematic direction, but he's written a fantastic feature on one of our most requested movies, one of the movies that the other writers said, hey, this is one of my favorite flops, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, and we will, and I'm definitely looking forward to letting you lovely people get a look at that. But that's for another time. Tonight we're going back to the 1970s to talk about maybe the defining comic book character in terms of what is a quote unquote 70s comic, because you literally can't picture this character, well, maybe existing, but certainly not created at any other time in comic book history, and that is Howard the Duck. And for those of you that don't know about the Duck's history, the Duck's history was created. The Duck was created by the amazing, irreplaceable Steve Gerber, and with art by Val Mayerik. And he wound up being it was originally intended to be a one-panel character in a weird, offbeat Marvel comic called Fear. And from that, wound up becoming an amazingly deeply loved cult character. Supported his own title through thick and thin, and Gerber's amazing ability to just blow right through deadlines. Became a 76 presidential candidate who apparently got some actual votes, although probably not nearly as many as Marvel likes to think. But still in all, what a great showing against Ford and Carter, huh? And then it all exploded into one big, horrible, tragic lawsuit. And other hands have tried to pick up the Duck since then, but it's, Gerber always gave credit to his collaborators like Mary Skrenes. But everybody who was associated with that title just admits that was Steve. That was Steve. And now that Steve is gone, I don't think we'll ever quite get the Duck back. All righty.
One of the things I do want to start off with is for those who have not read the comic book, in each of the comics, and most of them, Marvel would do an intro on the front page of every single one, and Howard's is just one of the best. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to read this.
Go right ahead, please.
And this is actually from the Hell Cow short story involving a cow that was living its best life in Switzerland until Dracula came by, and Dracula was thirsty. So for 300 years, this hell cow has been terrorizing, looking for that one stranger. So from the time of his hatching, he was different. A potentially brilliant scholar who dreaded the structured environment of school, he educated himself in the streets, taking whatever work was available, formulating the philosophy of self from what he had learned of the world about him. And then the cosmic axis shifted, and that world changed. Suddenly, he was stranded in a universe he could not fathom. Without warning, he became a strange fowl in an even stranger land. Stan Lee presents Howard the Duck. Now, if that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what does.
I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I'm digging back through Steve Gerber's stuff, and I know that we want to get to the movie because we should.
Yes,
but Gerber was such a contrarian, and he was so driven by his stories and his worldview, and he invested accidentally, I think, in the end, so much of himself and his outlook on the ludicrousness of civilization into Howard that Howard became a ghost that talked over his shoulder. And if you read some of the issues of Howard the Duck where he wasn't going to make the deadline and he just bailed out of the story, Beverly got kidnapped and was forced to marry Dr. Bong, but I can't write the next one, so here's a journey into my mind.
Right.
And then just wrote this Brechtian treatise on what it means to be a creator in a totally commercial, bankrupt industry for no money.
Right.
That he got really, I think he got really, it's not that I made a character and I think he's mine. I think he was stuck in the world of nobody else can voice this because he is literally the internal part of it.
Right. Tim, you're getting some Fog Hat tickets on sale Sunday, Echo, and it's kind of cool.
Fuck
I don't know if you want to fix it or not. As the host, I feel like I should tell you. Or is that just my doing here?
I don't know who. I was asking earlier about the reverb.
Me, Mr.
But,
Big Voice. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, please.
so the movie. Let's talk about the movie. Leah Thompson said
a lot there, but okay.
Leah Thompson said it was her favorite. And in an interview she did right afterwards, tragically, and one of the lines in her interview was, sadly, she had done a movie about going to space in a space shuttle, and before that got released, the Challenger disaster happened. So that movie, so she makes a point of saying, "I hope there are no duck disasters before this movie comes out."
That's so sweet and sad.
I know.
That's up there with after Nancy Walker's directorial debut, the Village People movie Can't Stop the Music. Her only request to the press was be kind.
Right, exactly. God. And I'm sorry if I skipped over stuff.
No, that's fine. We can take this in any order you want. Okay, all right. Go, please.
Well, I was going to say, because I could talk about the comic books all day long. I love them. They were fabulous. And I've been rereading them as a nostalgic sort of trip backwards in time.
Well, as our sponsor, I am only here to bow and scrape, so please.
Oh, well, no, like I say, I do want to talk about the movie because it is such a fantastic flop. I mean, it just, I saw it in the theater originally.
Wow.
So many moons ago. And I really thought it was going to be just the best thing ever. And, it's the kind of movie that has to grow on you, I think. I'm sorry to say.
Let's talk about the really good stuff.
Okay.
Because I really, really want to love the movie, but it has some issues.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of the of what's good about it is nostalgic, and it's also kind of about its possibilities. But I made a small list of the things that I think are really great about this movie.
Oh, wow.
First of all, Phil Tippett's creature animation, stop motion animation at the end is absolutely gorgeous.
Fair.
That villain is kind of interesting. It was kind of based on Gerber's comics in the sense that there was a nether spawn creature that was originally responsible for bringing Howard to the Earth. And that creature was kind of abbreviated into this space laser guy.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have anything to do with the thing that Phil Tippett made, but what a gorgeous piece of business that animation is.
And people forget how incredibly cutting edge that was.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, it blew me away when I was in the theater. And, I had been a lover of the old, the ones with the owl, Jason and the Argonauts, and those stop motion movies. And this was just wow. And that was all Industrial Light and Magic, right? I mean, I hate and the special effects for the time were over the top, and here they had this duck. Wow.
Which, originally they wanted to animate this.
No, I did not know that.
And it was supposed to be more of an animated feature, a little bit more like Fritz the Cat, let's say.
Or like Fire. Would they have done it live action like Fire and Ice? Or
I think it was supposed to, like, originally it was going to be animated, and then it might have been mixed media. But but the idea was that Lucas, as part of the contract, couldn't put out just a strictly animated thing, so they had to do a live action feature, and that's when they turned to the animatronics. Which, believe me, if it had been more like Fritz the Cat, it probably would have pulled off what it was.
That movie could still be made.
Yeah, but that kind of feeds into one of the fundamental problems that, like, if there was one decade that we were never going to get the comic book Howard Duck, it would be the 80s.
Yeah.
There's just nothing about the comic book Howard that connects with 80s cinema in any way, shape, or form. You definitely see the appeal to like more jaded Gen X 90s audiences, and I guess by 2000 you actually have the technology to pull some of this stuff off. But wow, I mean, I can't imagine. You've been better off doing it in the 20s as a silent, I think, than you would have trying to do it with the 80s zeitgeist.
Right, and that's a huge slice of amusement slash partially part of people's nostalgia. It's extremely 80s.
Right.
There's so much big hair and featherless lace gloves and what the punk were then or whatever. But that brings us to the next item, which is actually really good. This is Jerry.
Well, I can, so yeah, and our guest Emma Gabrielle, please forgive me if I screw up your name. Dirmisu. It's a cool name. I'm too hillbilly to pronounce it. I apologize. But a great comment here that hey, Roger Rabbit doing it Roger Rabbit style.
There you go.
I think that was on the table too at one point, if I'm not mistaken. But the early days of the development are really kind of hazy as they were just trying to figure out everything that they could do. But a Roger Rabbit Howard would have been also beautiful.
No kidding.
It would have allowed Robin Williams to be the voice. But we'll get back to that.
Oh, another trivia point I did not know. Okay, so on to your second one. And hello, Emma.
Cherry Bomb is
rhymes with dirty shoe. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Cherry Bomb is amazing. Leah Thompson and all the actors that were the women of Cherry Bomb actually did sing and perform those songs in the movie that Thomas Dolby wrote.
Right.
Which is a great piece of business. That's a time capsule. You're not going to get that back. Apparently, Leah Thompson still has a guitar, and she brings it out and plays it once in a while.
Nice.
The guitar is called Cherry Bomb.
The guitar is called Cherry Bomb. Even better. Oh, that's great. Yeah, they were brilliant. And that was another thing she spoke of in the interview was how fun it was for her to be a rock star because, everybody kind of wants to be a rock star. And here she had Thomas Dolby basically teaching her how to sing and how to play and all that kind of stuff. And you just can't get that song out of your head. Howard the Duck.
Well, she seems to be at peace with it, but really, you're in the same general time frame as Michael J. Fox in Light of Day. You will never be the most embarrassing insta rock star actor turned, of that time period. So
you're safe.
We all feel better if we're not the last in line. So there you go. Solids.
Here's the other things I love. Tim Robbins is obviously amazing. And he is, I swear he was practicing to be Norville Barnes, which I love. David Paymer is in there for one deadpan line, and he's good enough that I'm just happy with that. Jeffrey Jones is actually really good in this movie.
Yeah, I think so too. He really just the way the physicality of his transformation is really well done.
Voice.
I know. Although I'm sure people watching it these days would say, "What did he put his tongue into?" The cigarette lighter. It's like, what is that?
Alice Dahl VT makes the important point of sometimes a paycheck is a paycheck.
Indeed.
As Michael Caine says about Jaws the Revenge, I have not seen Jaws the Revenge, but I understand it's terrible. But I have seen the house that I built with my paycheck from Jaws the Revenge, and it is glorious.
It is glorious, right?
That money was really part of the issue. Lastly, why I love this movie is because it is just rife with the possibility that it really would have gotten there. And the more I think about it, or the more I read about it, there's this membrane between the two worlds that Howard never made, and there was this one that we saw, and the one that was so close to happening. And the first half of the scene in the Roma's Cajun sushi restaurant absolutely proves that they could have gotten it right. Because the first half of that scene is just Beverly and Howard in a diner booth, weird human zoo of a restaurant, talking to an alien overlord who is suddenly telling them he's going to destroy everything they know.
And then they just go along with it.
And they're not making a big deal out of it.
Right. Nonplussed.
Because Howard in the book is like, well, what else are you going to come up with? Everything I see doesn't make sense that you hairless apes do. Of course this would happen.
Of course this would happen, right.
The thing about Howard in the books is that he's a misanthrope, and he gets to be because he's not a human. And he totally sees the hypocrisy and the weirdness of everything. And Howard's books are constant journeys of him traveling through things that are happening to humanity, and he's like, what the heck, of course. And that scene in the booth nailed that feeling. And that's why I like Howard the Duck, because there was a glimmer of
brilliance. Yes, they really could have done it, and Lord only knows what happened, right? I mean, production, blah blah blah.
Well, for me, it was a comic that was kind of at its best when the antagonists, it's hard to refer to any of them as traditional villains, were like overly censorious, family values, council,
the kidney lady,
and cults and
every
random street criminals. But it's like the moment that it went to George Lucas's hands, it had to be a big special effects extravaganza with like the worst Marvel property to do something like that.
Right. Every Howard villain in the book points out a hypocrisy of mankind.
That's right. That's right.
Well, except for Dr. Bong, who's just a Dr. Doom clone. But every one of them, the space turnip is a failed writer who didn't get to create the reality he couldn't get.
That's right.
Sufi is every 70s New Age self-help movement gone awry.
Right.
He makes fun of, he skewers commercialism, he skewers conformity.
And just talking about the space turnip, the brain is in the greens, right? The best line. And yeah, at the beginning when he's dreaming because he's just read the guy's novel and he's kill Mallard, killing the mercs that the corporations have all, taken all of humanity and churned them up and then turned them back into these things that are attacking Howard and Beverly.
He's reimagined the War of the Worlds tripods as these big steel discs that just step on people. That's capitalism. It's just going to step on people.
It's just going to step on you. Yes.
I did not know this actually until a couple of weeks ago, but Robin Williams was supposed to be the voice of Howard.
Talk about that. That's crazy.
So they didn't know who was going to be the voice of Howard when they shot it. And so all of the performers that did the animatronic stuff throughout the movie had to do the lines and get the shots with the people and do the jokes and basically get it all on camera. And then they scored the greatest coup of all time, that Robin Williams came in. And Robin came in for like 3 days or a week post-production to start recording Howard's line, and tried to do it and quit immediately because he was like, I can't improvise. I can't give you Robin Williams because I have to match the
duck bill. Yeah.
And so he went, I'm sorry, I quit. And he bailed out. And they got the guy who did the voice to come in overnight. They literally called him, you want to be the voice of Howard the Duck? Get on that.
At the risk of being Mr. Unpopular Opinion, I just can't picture Robin Williams doing this, even if the technology is He's one of those names that just absolutely doesn't remind me of Howard in any way, shape, or form. Especially since, a comedian, I can easily think of a comedian I could see as Howard, George Carlin.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I imagine Carlin would work cheaper.
Right.
Sorry to be all capitalist, but I'm just saying.
No, you're right. I guess it might be. I just really wanted it to have worked. Maybe I don't know.
Right.
By the way, do you all know the people who auditioned for Beverly?
No.
Get this.
So you're looking at the list. Emma is with you on Williams as Howard. So
yes,
the people have spoken.
And part of my defense is from what you said, Prof, is I think I suspect, but I have no idea of knowing if he actually read Howard and therefore might have really gotten it. If he didn't and he just went Aladdin with it, then maybe.
Right. Then it would have gone off the rails, right? Okay, list of Beverlys.
I'll freak you out.
Okay.
The list of ladies who auditioned for Beverly. Scream Queen Linnea Quigley. Apparently she really wanted it and was really
disappointed. Oh.
Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's.
Okay. Wow. Man.
Might have been cool. Paula Abdul. Kim Basinger.
Get out.
Not have worked. I don't.
No.
Jodie Benson,
okay.
which we don't really recognize her like as a face, but she was the voice of Ariel 3 years later.
Okay.
In the original Little Mermaid. Sarah Jessica Parker.
Next, you're going to tell me Kim Cattrall.
I'm not making this up. Phoebe Cates, which would have also
been good. Yeah.
Laurie Singer.
In
Footloose and
right.
Falcon and the Snowman, and also the weird ass film noir movie that Howard probably should have been, Trouble in Mind, and Tori Amos.
What a list! and they picked Leah Tompkins over. She did work. She was a perfect Beverly.
She was the best out of all.
And my whole goal of this podcast is to get Tim to call me "Oh Ducky" like she.
Well, here you go. Emma's giving us some ammo in that direction. You're out of luck unless you go Duck.
Let's go Duck. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, What If Season 1 is probably the best on-screen representation of Howard the Duck.
And I have not seen it. I need to go and look at that. That was I didn't quite make it that far in my research. One of the things I love about the movie are the outfit changes. I mean, where the hell did he get all of this sartorial perfection? I mean, the bolo, the paisleys, the checkered boxers. I mean.
Well, I think in movie he says he swiped them from the children's Goodwill basket.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that point. All right. Well, what a
Stealing
basket!
From children would be one of the things they got right, I think.
What were all those kids doing, putting all those clothes in the Goodwill basket?
See, in my version, I would have thrown in a scene with like the poor unclothed children
running around. Right? Exactly.
Yes.
Howard.
Although I just did like his suit and tie. Part of the legal battle between Disney and Marvel in the 70s about Howard the Duck is they had to make sure he wore pants.
Right.
Yeah. But Disney sued?
Yeah, Disney sued. Oh yeah.
They didn't sue. They kind of like injunction, like preparatory injunction. It was more like strong arming.
Okay, well, but they filed. That's the lawyer here confirms that means they sued.
I'm going to argue with you about legal terms.
Fair enough.
Oh, Justin.
There it is. All right, my life is complete. So I do have to tell everyone that I did prepare a special cocktail for tonight, and it's in a duck glass. Okay, it's called the Mighty Duck. I did a Google, and Tim and I talked about this beforehand, and there was probably 50 different recipes, all of which, or at least the majority of which, sounded disgusting because they. I mean, there were ones using duck consomme. Is that how you say it? Yeah. And they're warm, and I'm thinking, oh my dear God! And then there's this egg liqueur.
They have actual duck in them.
Right. right. You know, and then there was this egg liqueur called avocado, and I'm just glad Tim was not able to find it because I mean I could just see him drinking this and going all ducky. But mine is called the Mighty Duck, and it is pear flavored vodka, lemonade. It's supposed to have club soda, but I substituted Topo Chico because we're here in Texas. Garnished with a pear in a Mighty Duck glass. So
I was going to ask if you had any recipes that didn't sound like an epicac.
Right, exactly.
Now, by any chance, do you have that in any convenient virtual format? Because if you drop that into the chat, I can share that with the world.
I just Googled it and and then printed it out, and now it's a piece of paper sitting on my kitchen counter.
All right, okay. Well, go to your local Google outlet and pick up the recipe.
There you go. And it is quite delicious. The hard part was finding the pear vodka because all these guys wanted to sell me pear brandy because it's about 4 times the cost, and I'm like, no, vodka. I need vodka. So.
Were they like all old guy in a cornmeal? Oh no, you don't want to do that, son.
Right. Oh gosh. All right. So, what do you love about the movie, Prof?
Yeah.
Honestly, to me, it's one of those. Roger Ebert once said that his definition of a bomb was a film that you would rather watch the cast having lunch than the actual film. And you know, it's such a fascinating collection of talents heading in like radically different directions in their careers. You know, I find myself more curious about what dialogue would have been exchanged. And the people that I feel sorry for about this tragedy were the people who got most blame for it. Gloria and Willard Hike, who wrote and directed this because they were old friends of George Lucas. And that's going to be their epitaph in the way that, you know, they could find a cure for cancer tomorrow. And their tombstone will still read people who made the Howard the Duck movie.
Which is a real shame because we're talking about the guy who wrote American Graffiti.
Right.
But even more than American Graffiti, if I were the one writing their obituary, to me, long before even Graffiti, they were responsible for me one of the all-time great unknown horror films. The first one the two of them tried to make together was a little gem called Messiah of Evil.
Ooh,
and
never seen it.
Even if you hate my books, you don't like the duck, you hate joy, you hate life, this to me is still one of the great horror films ever made. It is due to the fact that they ran out of money and the producers recut the footage without them. It's like filming a nightmare right down to the nightmare logic.
It's got a spooky vibe that's up there with Carnival of Souls, I think.
Yeah, but it's got a rougher 70s edge to it.
Yeah, like more of a Romero kind of a.
Yeah, and it breaks my heart that people that didn't care about Howard the Duck at all are still going to give those two poor people crap over a movie they didn't even bother seeing. Oh, here we go. Alice Dahl is with me. Yes, here we go. Oh, and Emma, thank you both. Thank you both. Believers. Is it kind of weird proselytizing for a film called Messiah of Evil? Title says like I've given up the con.
Not in my world.
You know, there are totally no backwards messages on this. Totally nothing that would summon an extra dimensional demon.
Hey man, it's all math.
Well, I also give him forgiveness. Hike wrote Temple of Doom, which I do like.
We could do a whole other show defending that.
I will stand on that. I do like it. And apparently, legend has it he's the guy who made the joke to Lucas when he couldn't find the end to Empire that he said, well, maybe you could just make Darth Vader his dad.
Oh, wow.
Legend has it.
Legend has it. Wow.
Oh, wow. I always heard that it was a Lee Brackett thing.
There are several articles that say if Hike actually did that, he is more of the father of some of the Star Wars stuff than we think.
Sure.
Mm.
That makes tons of sense.
It could be fake. I'm just repeating what I.
Maybe a classic success has many fathers.
Well, you've now said it on the internet, so it must be true. Right? Isn't that how this all works? Right?
And Alice, the great, just to finish up, here you go. Okay, like, sorry, you never knew what it's about, even if it's clearly in the title.
Like Messiah of Evil had like 17 titles, and a lot of them ended with Living Dead. And Laurel Entertainment actually sued them and went, "You can't do Living Dead." And the courts went, "Okay, you don't own Living Dead, George Romero, so go away." But also, some of these titles actually did infringe that.
Right.
Yeah, back. Like, do you have a movie? No, but I have a title.
There you go. Exactly.
So
let's talk about the irony of Howard the Duck, which is he's a duck that cannot fly, and he's a duck that cannot swim.
That's correct.
In either of those situations, what sort of planet must he be from of duck?
And also, they're vaguely mammalian.
Right.
Honestly, the other really good, I really like the point where that Tim Robbins is showing them the dioramas in the Science Museum.
Yeah, and they do the the evolution of the duck.
The evolutionary.
Right.
Neanderthal duck loses his wings. That's actually spot on.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know that in the ultralight flight, Tim Robbins and the guy operating the suit actually had to fly that thing.
Get out, boy!
It is immensely dangerous.
Well, and he hadn't quite made his career yet, right? So he wasn't a megastar. So I guess they were like, well, if we lose one, we got another one.
Well, and the poor guy in the suit, they had to actually
the guy in the suit. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
To get it up, and that's why the shots look really amazing. Like they don't look faked.
No, because they're not. Right? Yeah. There's no crane holding them, that kind of thing. Oh, gosh, the insurance people must have just been, pulling their hair out.
You do sort of picture like a big stack of like little people that have suffocated to death in the suit, and they're just stacking them up like cordwood. And like, bring me in another one.
Next. Well, because there was like 4 or 5 people that played it, right? Or that were in the suit.
Okay. There were 4 to 7 people who operated it, but there was one guy that was in the suit. And originally they had a child, and then at night they were going to use the other guy, the main puppeteer guy, to run the suit. But the 2 takes between their motions were so disassociative that they eventually went, "Kid, I'm sorry, you're good, thank you."
Yeah.
And they let the kid go, and the poor puppeteer had to wear the suit for the entire shoot.
Hey man, he knew what he was getting into. You don't choose puppeteer as your life work without saying, "I'm going to get in a suit one day." Just know it's going to happen.
The inside of a duck suit has to smell like vodka, Cheetos, and bad life choices.
Well, what about the cigars, man?
Poor guy. Oof.
And also, we need you to fly this airplane. And you can only see out of the bill.
It's not really an airplane. Did we mention that part? It's more like a log.
I'm with Emma, like as if they told the insurance guy.
Right. Exactly.
During regular takes, he could only see slightly out of the bill, and so he had to memorize where people were on the set so he could get the sight lines right.
Oh my gosh.
And then he flew the airplane.
Then he could see. And then they told him about the airplane, right?
This sacrifice was to be worth it because this is going to be a beloved classic that's like
right.
we run on TV for years.
It's the first of a trilogy, everyone. It's the first of a trilogy.
Yeah, that's right. Because Lucas only makes trilogies, right? Yeah. Well, and back then it was supposed to be the preeminent. He thought it was going to be a blockbuster. I mean, and I think I read somewhere the guy that did the suit when he didn't get invited to the party, something was wrong. He's like, but George Lucas throws these lavish Hollywood elite parties. I'm going to meet everyone, blah blah blah, and then he doesn't get an invite. He's like, "What's going on?" It's like, "There's no party." What? I spent all that time in a goddamn suit, quacking like a duck. Oh gosh.
Oh geez.
Well, and we do need to have at least one quick mention of the most uncomfortable, almost sex scene in cinematic history.
Well, there's a thing. You either go all Howard or you don't go all Howard. And they wanted to make the kids movie that could sell the breakfast cereal and the toys.
Right.
So I don't know where the female duck with the breasts
came from, right?
In the bathtub came from. And the thing about, the books, his relationship with Beverly is pretty blasé.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. And, it's all up front biologically, but also he's just trying to make his way through the world. So,
yeah, right.
So, of course, you have to put that in there, but you don't have to feature it like it's a weird thing. But also, if you're making a kid's thing, you should probably avoid it.
Right. Because none of them know who Lita is. Right.
It's 2023. You have a film with Jeffrey Jones in it, and that's only the second ickiest thing about it.
Right. Apparently, when his little crest
comes up, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Apparently, that took weeks to figure out how to make it work right.
Can you see how many takes they had to do on that? It's like,
so it
damn it.
Like, we'll do the sexy bed part, but if it's bad, we'll just get rid of it. No, they're like, oh no,
no. Oh, this is staying. Right.
If we don't get the crest right, this whole thing falls apart.
Right. And I love it when he's like, I have a headache. Be gentle with me.
Lord.
It's something Howard never would.
Howard never have said that. No. He's more like, what makes you think I like hairless apes?
Yeah.
Right?
Look, babe, Toots, it's been fun and all.
Toots, that's right.
I need to get a job.
Smoking the big cigar. Presidential campaign. Golly, we're about to have one ourselves again, and I miss the days of Howard the Duck. Get down, America was the slogan.
There's so many reasons I wish Steve Gerber were still alive, and one of them is, just like 76, is another battle between two people unqualified for the office.
Right.
And the only way to survive it is the thought, maybe this imaginary duck will win.
And carry the day, right?
Yes.
And you were saying earlier, I didn't Google this beforehand, I should have, but he got votes, I assume.
People who've actually looked into the legend, there's no way to verify them because they, the states actually have rules for throwing, and that breaks my heart. Having grown up with, there's nothing in the rule book that says an elephant can't pitch. Right. In my head canon, unless it's specifically outlawed and it's cool, you could go ahead and do it. Like nothing that says you have to exist to be president. So, but apparently the states have law, buzzkill laws, so you got to be alive and stuff.
76, I was 10 years old, and that's actually where I heard about write-in votes and then started to understand how the
system worked, right?
System works.
Yeah.
And I've heard that it's like 7,600 or 11,000 write-in votes.
That's awesome.
That seems big to me. I don't know.
It does. Yeah, but still, I'm kind of hopeful that we do live in a world where Howard the Duck got 11,000 votes in the presidential election of 1976.
The presidential buttons were the final straw between Marvel and Gerber. It wasn't so much that he owned the character. If you go back into the legal documents, you learn that he knew that he wrote Howard as a work for hire thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he was given a special dispensation to get part of the profits for developing and selling the campaign buttons.
Mm.
And he leveraged that into the newspaper strip Howard.
Okay.
And then as he got later and later in the product he was writing for Marvel, Marvel was unhappy with his performance as a guy who could make deadlines. That's where they fell out. And this is an interesting thing I learned, because, the word on the schoolyard is, well, he demanded that Howard was his character and Marvel fired him for it, but it's so much more nuanced than that.
Huh. Okay.
It's more like Marvel and I had agreement that I would write Howard, and also I had part of the merchandising thing. There's a great article where a guy goes through all of the legal briefings.
Oh.
And it was really more of like, I need to get a little piece of this, and you need to get a little piece of that. So there's a lot more nuance. By the time the movie came out, Gerber knew that Howard was a Marvel character. And he was happy to get the script, which apparently he made some comments on, and he even got the set for a day. And he thought it, I think he thought it was a piece of silliness that wasn't really Howard.
I like to reserve judgment on that, because it is Howard, because it's part of, my whole Howardness, right? I mean, it's a different Howard with flashes of Howard, but yeah, reading back through the comic books, I highly recommend anyone, if you want to just experience the zaniness, the madness that was Gerber, his brilliance. I mean, it's all there, and it's just crazy, the stuff that he comes up with.
I'm going to see if I can throw this link into the.
I was going to ask you to send that one to me, because I missed that.
Fascinating article.
Can't believe I missed that one. But
well, we have a question about the Comics Code Authority here in the chat room. So this may be my best opening to congratulate Steve Gerber for getting Dr. Bong past the Comics Code Authority in the 70s.
Hey, man, he was just a bell. It was just a bell. He's got a big bell on his head. You hit him and he goes.
Reference. You got Dirty Minds there at the Comics Code. Dirty Minds.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I did put the link in the YouTube chat. So
okay, cool. All right. Okay.
I highly recommend it. It's you'll love it, Tom. It's a legal guy going through all the filings.
Right. And I don't have email it to me if you don't mind.
I will.
Because I don't have the YouTube. I have the private chat here, but not the YouTube. So
no problem. I'll email it. But it's really worth going through, because it really spells out way more nuance than I ever thought. And I mean, Gerber went on. He launched Void Indigo with Marvel, which was just too nuts for them, so they went, thank you very much. And then he did Howard as Stuart the Rat all the way to the 90s.
Right. And I've seen recently they've come out with a couple of additional. I think in the shirt that you're wearing, they've come out with some additional graphic novels.
Yeah, Chip Zdarsky. Is it Chip Zdarsky that did
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't read those, so they're on my list now.
They're good. They have to fit in the Marvel universe now, so they're way more. Hey, I'm hanging out with She-Hulk. Instead of I'm sitting in the subway and this crazy guy is throwing up on me, and that's how people work.
And this lady's yelling me about my kidneys. The kidney lady is one of my favorite.
You have to wonder how that would play with like a modern day resident of like San Francisco or Portland or someplace like, because Gerber was just writing when he was living in New York at the time, and just a lot of that I think would still be resonant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We don't get that much down here in Houston. Our urban decay is a little different, but you can still find. I mean, for example, every Christmas Eve, Santas reenact the bombing of Pearl Harbor on Discovery Green in Houston, Texas. It's brilliant. They're all dressed in Santas.
If it doesn't look like the Batley Women's Towns Guild reenactment of Pearl Harbor, don't tell me because that's what's in my head right now. Well, we're down to our last 10 minutes, and I'm going to say one last thing, and I'm going to shut up, and I'll let. But I have to talk about. This was my thing. I think I could tie this all into a little bow, but Gerber was always immensely generous in talking about his lifetime friend and collaborator Mary Skrenes, and he always said that she's Beverly. And I think his classic line was about her is, she's someone that's so shy and unwanting of attention, she's probably mad at me that I'm telling people that she's shy and unwanting of attention. And after Subversive Sci-Fi funded, I took one of the great social media swings for the fences, and I sent Mary Skrenes a friend request, which she accepted. And it's like okay, I'm gonna I wrote like 3 paragraphs of sorry I bothered you, but it's like I just have to tell you how much this comic meant to me, and I really appreciate your contributions for it. And I even worked up the courage to say, by the way, I'm putting together a book called Fantastic Flops. Would you be interested in do it? And she was so nice. She was so sweet and so patient. And unfortunately, she's retired from writing, but just seems to be very, very, very happy in her post-comics life. And I guess comics and gaming have the same thing. Once you leave them, you're very happy. But my gosh, what a great blessing that I got to talk to her and tell her, what her work meant to me, and how very, very, very nice she was to 55-year-old people. Kind of the Randy Quaid in Vegas Vacation. You need a bodyguard, I'd die for you kind of adulation. So thank you for being very, very, very kind to me.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I also took a swing for the fences, but I didn't make it. I sent Leah Thompson a Instagram message saying, we're putting together this podcast about your favorite movie.
Nice.
Is there any chance that you could, tell us a story or something like that? And crickets. But anyway, I thought it was worth a shot.
I asked George Lucas. It's okay. We have a little gift of the Magi thing going on here.
I just want to. Can I close with a quote?
Please.
Go ahead, please.
There's apparently a documented exchange between Hike and Katz developing the project and Steve Gerber, which I think really shows the deviation and also really nails Gerber. Katz is quoted as saying, "It's about a duck from outer space. It's not supposed to be an existential experience." To which Gerber reportedly replied, "Oh, you mean this is no joke? There it is. That's the joke. The funniest gag in the universe. Life's most serious moments and most incredibly dumb moments are often distinguishable only by a momentary point of view. Anyone who doesn't believe this probably cannot enjoy reading Howard the Duck."
Oh, brilliant. You need to put that quote needs to be put onto the YouTube channel, because that does just tie it all together.
It's on the Wikipedia page.
On the Wikipedia page. Oh, fantastic. All right.
All righty. Well, we are down to our last 5 minutes or so. So we'll go back in reverse order here. Tim, what are you working on that the people should know about and we should be looking for from you?
I am currently awaiting, like everyone else, the publication of Everybody's Gone to the Movies, Volume 3, wherein I was incredibly honored to be able to write an essay, and I hope everyone loves that. I am currently starting a new blog, a new film writing blog, which is a weird experiment for me. And it's very early days. It's not even a soft open. It's what I would call a vapor open. But you will find me at in medias res, in dash medias dash res, .ghost.io. And that's where I'm going to spend the next bunch of months, I think, writing about movies. I'm working on a big article about Dr. Mabuse.
About what?
Dr. Mabuse.
Dr. Mabuse. Ooh, okay.
Well, if you want to drop a link in the private chat, I can send it out to the people.
And I'd subscribed to that yesterday, so I'm like one of your charter member. I don't even know.
You are now one of the 4 people who are
4. Count them. We are a select company. A select company.
Now I need the link.
That's right.
I don't want to be left out.
No. You're a joiner, Prof.
But, well, okay, until you hit about 4,000 or 5,000, and it's no longer cool. Then
right. Then you're bailed.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, on Monday when like Messiah of Evil is the #1 film in the country, I'm throwing this in the trash. You're dead to me now.
Dead to me now, right? Just tear your clothing.
Yeah, no.
There's
there's the link.
All right, okay.
It's just gearing up now. There's not a lot of content yet, but I hope over the next bunch of weeks. I was inspired by the Prof, and I just want to keep writing more about movies and talking about movies. So thank you.
All right, that's very kind of you. And there we go.
All right. Yes, go sign up. I'm prominently featured in it, so cool. if you're interested in additional fanboying on me, that's where you can find my name and links and stuff like that, all the way back to this podcast, which by the way is my first. How did I do, guys?
Oh, you were great. I'm not really this nervous and awkward. I just try to be terrible because it seems to put my guests at ease.
You're great.
Get out of here. Come on, man.
You're
fabulous.
Thank you. I'm not used to talking to people who don't have to listen to me for a grade.
Wait,
I'm getting graded.
There's no quiz. I thought.
Yeah.
So
all right. So
I don't have anything. I do have some creative things I'm working on, but I don't have time to talk about them right here. But and I'm kind of scared. I'll talk with them privately about Tim, and then maybe we can do something on that. But I am a lawyer. I do, as I've told you, I do wage theft. If anyone feels like they have, hey Norm. Nice. Thanks. You're so sweet. If anyone feels like they have not been paid properly or they're working overtime, not getting paid, that kind of thing, give me a call. HoustonOvertimeLawyers.com. We're easy to find. I'm not going to put the link in there because that's just, but it's God's work as far as I'm concerned, and I want to keep doing it.
Oh, there you go. All righty.
That was the weirdest ambulance chase ever, Tom.
No. The problem is I don't have to chase them. They all hit me.
I'm kidding. Seriously, this guy downplays. This guy downplays.
I got to share this compliment for you here. Great job, like a Mongolian throat singer. That's been on my bucket list for 20 years, man, and you have achieved and unlocked that. So.
Oh, good. There we go. I had no idea.
Well, as time burns out on us, I really have to take another opportunity to thank you so much for being extra generous and making our books happen. We live or die by people that are hip to what we're doing and are willing to take a chance on a bunch of weirdos like us. So thank you on behalf of everybody associated with this volume and volume 4. You made them both possible. So thank you so much for helping us out.
All right, get down, America.
Indeed. And as for me, I will be back next Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 8 o'clock UK time, where our topic will be Dread Cthulhu himself. And we'll be bringing in some of the leading lights of Cthulhiana. I guess I just made a word. The current Call of Cthulhu role-playing game brand manager Mike Mason is going to be with us.
Wow.
Long time Lovecraftian and gaming and science fiction and horror legend Jim Lauder will be there, and anybody else on the Ghost Show staff with a bent toward mind-walteringly screaming terror will all be there. So please join us. There's the link, and if you want to keep track of things like that, please subscribe to the BAMP podcast channel and go to Facebook and subscribe to the Ghost Show Press page, and we'll keep you up on all things Ghost Show. And thank you all very much for tuning in, and thank you so much to our guests, and we'll see you next week. But for now, I'm Professor Christopher McLaughlin, and this has been The Ghost Show.